Welcome to episode 31 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show. My name is Jeremy Poock, and I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's Ask Show, we'll have two questions followed by our Poock's post. And just to preview our Poock's post today, it is don't watch the paint. Don't get caught, don't get caught watching the paint dry, which of course is a quote from the 1986 movie Hoosiers. So let's please jump right into it with our first question today. Our first question today is, what law firm sale trends do you foresee in 2026? We foresee four trends for law firm sales in 2026. The first trend that we foresee is the phase out of law firm sales 1.0 for senior attorney led law firms. So we've really seen throughout the 2020s and beforehand that the sale for senior attorney led firms was primarily and has primarily been law firm sales 1.0, which consists of consideration paid on the book of business that a senior attorney led firm has developed over the course of one or more rainmaker attorneys at their firm, generating that book of business, selling that book of business to a growing law firm that pays consideration based upon the revenues derived from the book of business. Well, senior attorneys and really the legal industry in general has been on notice since 2020 that digital marketing disruption is here. In 2020, our world pivoted digitally, and so did finally the legal industry. And what that means and what that continues to mean is that clients now, really yesterday, today, and tomorrow, continue to look online when they're looking for lawyers and law firms to hire. And it's those growing law firms that will continue to attract the attention of clients as they're looking for lawyers and law firms to hire online. So let's look at what that impact of today's and tomorrow's digital disruption is having on senior attorney-led firms in particular, and as we're foreseeing this trend in 2026 of phasing out law firm sales 1.0. The short-term impact of senior attorney-led firms not generating business digitally, that is not investing in multi-channel digital marketing, is that their revenues, what we continue to see is the revenues are going down year over year because you're not generating as many new clients as you did in yesteryear. The effect that that is having on that all-important book of business, that is the most important and most valuable asset of a senior attorney-led firm, really any law firm, is their book of business. And if you're not generating as many new clients as you did pre-2020, pre-Google, because you're not investing in multi-channel digital marketing, well, then your book of business is not replenishing as much as it did in yesteryear. And when we look at law firm sales 1.0, the impact of not regenerating and adding new clients and referral sources to your book of business is that your overall law firm will become less valuable. And in terms of the phase out of law firm sales 1.0, at some point, growing law firms will become less interested in senior attorney-led firms that have lesser clients to offer as part of their book of business. But B, when it comes to that multi-channel digital marketing, it has already started that certain growing law firms will generate new clients for less money than purchasing a book of business from a senior attorney-led firm. Hence, we certainly see that a trend in 2026 and throughout the remainder of this decade is that the phase out of law firm sales 1.0 has happened. And if your firm is seeing less in revenues and your book of business is not regenerating as much as it did pre-Google, pre-2020, please, please, please consider selling your firm before it becomes, as a colleague of mine recently introduced this term to me, untransactable, because a growing law firm may no longer be interested in the book of business that you have. Now let's look at the next trend. The next trend that we foresee in 2026 and really going forward into the remainder of this decade is an increase of quote unquote unexpected key employee departures from senior attorney led firms. So, what do we mean by that? What we see in the marketplace is what we call random Tuesday events. A particular random Tuesday event that's very stinging, hurtful to senior attorney owners of law firms, both financially and often personally too, is when a key employee of the firm, and let's focus on a key employee, lawyer or lawyers, when they leave the firm only on 2 or 4 weeks notice. We call that a Tuesday event, and often it is unexpected. But here we're putting in air quotes today on unexpected, and here's why. So when it comes to the revenues of your law firm, if the revenues in your law firm, we'll explain why we go to revenues in a moment, but if the revenues in your law firm are decreasing because you're not generating as many new clients as you did pre-Google, pre-2020, well, then your key employee lawyers could very well be doing less work at the firm, which can be tolerable to the owner, right? The owner is trying to bring in as much work as possible, needs those key employee lawyers to be doing the work. But what is it that key employee lawyers, what do they really want and need? They want and need a reliable, predictable, and safe job. So when the revenues at the firm are going down, key employee lawyers, they start thinking to themselves, well, I really don't want to purchase my boss's law firm, which, by the way, most key employee lawyers, they don't want to purchase their boss's law firm and they can't afford to. But very importantly and selfishly for them, but we can't really blame them, they want a reliable, predictable, and safe job. And combined with not wanting to purchase their boss's law firm, if they see that the revenues are going down, if they see that their job is no longer, that is the revenues of the firm, and if they feel that their jobs are no longer reliable, predictable, and safe. They will provide only 2 weeks or 4 weeks notice to their longtime boss that they are joining another law firm that can offer them that all important, reliable, predictable, and safe job. Hence, as we see senior attorney led firms not generating as many new clients as they did in yesteryear and revenues going down, and your key employee lawyers not being internal would be successors, we're going to see that rise in unexpected departures of key employee lawyers from your office, as well as other key employees. But here's the but, and here's the message to senior attorneys in particular, is that when you realize, and we hope that many senior attorneys will realize that their key employee lawyers do not want to purchase their firms and can't afford to, that their key employee lawyers and their parastaff are assets of their firm when it comes to considering to sell your firm. So we said at the beginning of this trend of quote unquote unexpected departures. We highly recommend, please be ahead of that curve. Growing law firms, if you're considering selling your firm, growing law firms, if we could just go back to that previous slide for a moment, growing law firms, they want and need three resources that senior attorney led firms have: your client list, your experienced workforce, and your subject matter knowledge that growing law firms need today to convert to digital content. When it comes to your key employee lawyers in particular, they offer great value to growing law firms because those growing law firms need your attorneys to continue providing the sophisticated legal services to your clients and theirs. So when a key employee lawyer unexpectedly leaves, it hurts your law firm in the short term. It also hurts the value in the long term because growing law firms, not only do they want your book of business, they also want and need your experienced workforce. And just to finish on this note of this trend that we're foreseeing more unexpected departures of key employee lawyers, that is preventable because what they want is a reliable, predictable, and safe job. And if you as the owner provide that continuing stability by selling, merging the firm with a growing law firm, it presents wins across the board. Win for the senior attorney and a win for the key employee lawyers of yours who want, again, that reliable, predictable, and safe job, and a win for a growing law firm that wants and needs your talented workforce. So now for the next trend. The next trend that we foresee in 2026 is the normalization of digital rainmaker law firms. So what do we mean by that? Beginning in 2020, we observed, as did lawyers throughout the country and law firms throughout the country, that digital marketing disruption entered into the marketplace. That is, clients began searching more and more online for lawyers and law firms to hire, just like we as individuals of all ages search for anything and everything online. We want and need a new doctor, a new accountant. We want to go to a restaurant. We want to buy a new pair of shoes. We want to do almost anything today. We're looking online for it, and clients pivoted. They moved to the digital space to look for lawyers and law firms to hire. And we have very quickly gone in the legal industry. We've gone from digital disruption to adjustment, that is, law firms adjusting to clients looking online, to adopting multi-channel digital marketing. And now, here in 2026 and going forward throughout the rest of this decade, we are in what we call the normalization phase. That is, the rise of digital rainmaker law firms, because digital marketing for business development for law firms has now become normalized. And that normalization of digital rainmaker law firms really consists of what we call, windmills of generations for business development by digital rainmaker law firms. And those windmills that are developing clients digitally, it's really 5 of those, and then 1 left over from the pre-digital age. First and foremost is Google, right? Clients are looking on Google, and digital rainmaker law firms are investing that proverbial Google tax so that the law firm and the lawyers are found on Google. AI, we cannot ignore it. We absolutely can't ignore it. We hear about it all day, every day. So many of us have adopted AI. Well, guess what? Clients are looking to their AI thought partners and asking for the best attorney that will meet my particular legal needs. Who is that attorney? Who is that law firm? Then clients are looking to social media, and digital rainmaker law firms are publishing multiple posts to multiple platforms of social media, so clients will find them. And very importantly, clients will know, like, and trust lawyers and law firms before contacting them, and without ever even having to ask a human being, which had been done for generations and generations because of the social proof that is available today online, and here in the example via social media. And of course, websites. Law firms are adjusting, improving the content on their websites on a daily basis, often weekly, monthly, quarterly, right? We want clients to go onto their websites to see and read and listen to and watch the content. Importantly, relying upon scores and scores of 5-star Google reviews to know, wow, these people also think highly of this law firm. I should hire this law firm. Our family, our business should hire this law firm. Digital rainmaker law firms are adopting audio and video. They're publishing podcasts. They're publishing video facts. They are publishing webinars, all for those clients that are looking online. Again, they want to know, like, and trust their attorneys. And yes, digital rainmakers, they are still doing business development old school by handing out business cards, at events, and in the community. But it's just not as necessary as it used to be. And in terms of what is that doing to the value of today's digital rainmaker law firms, is the value of those firms is increasing. Of course, the book of business, which is still the primary asset of any law firm, right? The law firms need what, in terms of the value of their firms, is a client list and also referral sources. Those referral sources today are being expanded, whereas yesteryear you had referral sources of colleagues, that would refer business to the firms. Well, today's referral sources are really shown by your data analytics. That is where clients are coming into the firm via their multi-channel digital marketing. I can tell you now, whenever we are working with any seller today, we are asking them, let's see your data analytics. Where are you ranking SEO wise? How much time are our clients spending on particular pages of your law firm that is adding significant digital value? So here we are, we're in this trend of the normalization of digital marketing, digital rainmaker law firms in 2026 and the remainder of this decade. And for those law firms that recognize that normalization and have adopted it or will continue adopting it, you will only add more and more value to your firms for greater sale prices in the future. And that leads us to our last trend. The final trend that we foresee in 2026 is the rise of law firm sales 2.0 and also law firm sales 2.5. Really, one of the first times that we're starting to say law firm sales 2.5. And by the way, later in today's episode, we'll introduce law firm sales 3.0. When it comes to the rise of law firm sales 2.0 and 2.5, we need to recognize that business development today is being done digitally. As a result of law firms developing clients digitally via Google, via AI, via social media, via their websites, via clients listening, watching them via podcasts and videos, what we are seeing in the marketplace is more predictability for how business development happens. That is, clients are coming to law firms because of their digital value and because of their brand equity. And just to show that law firm brand equity really consists of four parts that feed into it. First is brand awareness, right? That is when a law firm is out in the digital marketplace and somebody is putting into Google, they're putting into ChatGPT that they're looking for a certain law firm in their community, in their state, regionally, nationally, and that brand has awareness across multiple platforms. That is developing brand equity for the firm. Similarly, what we're seeing more and more, and we're going to see this trend more in 2026 and going forward, is law firms adopting trade names. The days, and this is good news for people that answer the phones for law firms, the days of having 6 partners, okay, being named when someone's answering the phone for a law firm, those days are numbered because firms today are recognizing that they need to have trade names, one name law firms, two name law firms, firms that don't even have a surname associated with them and just have a trade name altogether. That's adding to law firm brand value and brand equity. Quality perception. We can't emphasize enough the importance of 5-star Google reviews. That is today's social proof. We rely on 5-star Google reviews for everything and anything, and law firms are recognizing that as well as our clients. Clients going on to a website of a particular law firm, they see hundreds of 5-star Google reviews or similarly Yelp type reviews. They are assured that there's that social proof that this is a law firm that produces high quality legal work. And then the digital presence. It's just that you're everywhere, at least in terms of where firms need to be today, from their website to social media to having AI authority. We're going to see that more and more in 2026, the build out of AI authority for law firms when you're showing up, when people are doing searches via their AI thought partners, and law firms are coming up as a result of those searches. So taken together, that law firm brand and digital value and the predictability of attracting clients because of multi-channel digital marketing that is supported by data analytics And let's say that differently. That is, that law firms that are adopting multi-channel digital marketing and adopting digital marketing generally have a lesser reliance on rainmaker attorneys. When you have that lesser reliance on rainmaker attorneys, and you're developing clients digitally and developing brand and digital equity, law firm sales 2.0, what that means is that in the sales standpoint, there will be fixed prices for those sales based upon the data analytics showing the value of how clients come into the firm and are generating the revenues for the firm, plus earn-out payment terms based upon that book of business, because there still will be and there still are rainmaker attorneys at firms that clients come to because they're going to that firm because they know that its divorce group is stellar, a particular attorney at that group is outstanding. Law firm sales 2.5, because we're seeing the rise of that as well, is that there will be even less dependence on earn-out payment terms when the digital rainmaker firms of today and tomorrow will be able to show even less dependence on old school rainmaker attorneys and much more reliance on their brand value, digital value, and the data analytics that show the predictability of how clients come and retain those types of firms. That will be law firm sales 2.5. And by the way, the good news on law firm sales 2.0 and 2.5 is we're going to see much higher multiples of those sales than law firm sales 1.0, which is based on an earnout only and is typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30% of the revenues that come in from the book attributable to rainmaker attorneys, payable over a negotiated period of time. So in this trend of the rise of law firm sales 2.0 and 2.5, the good news for the sellers of those types of firms is you are going to see higher multiples of those sales, and as well as the entry of banks and private equity, that when they see the predictability of how clients come into those firms, they're going to feel much more concerned. By the way, it's not a feeling, they will just know that there is much more predictability and reliance on revenues coming into those firms, and that will drive up the prices in law firm sales 2.0 and 2.5. Okay, so for our next question. Our next question today is, what is a startup law firm and how will they be sold? So we are absolutely seeing in the marketplace startup law firms, which is really fascinating when we take like a historical view. Senior Attorney Match, we developed the company based upon working with senior attorneys, right? Those are attorneys that have practiced for more than 30 years. And really, they went into the legal profession as a profession, right? They went to law school, fell in love with particular areas of the law, take that knowledge that they have, start attracting clients as rainmaker attorneys, and all of a sudden they have a business. Okay, so as I went from having a profession to attracting business to hiring other attorneys to work with me to attracting more business, all of a sudden my profession has turned into a business. Can I sell my business at some point? Startup law firms, markedly different. What we're seeing today is we have lawyers that are coming into the legal practice or are already in the legal practice and are developing this startup law firm that really has 6 features to it. Okay, from the outset, the owner or owners of startup law firms already know from the get-go a particular product that they want to offer to the marketplace. When I say product, I mean a practice area. Secondly, is they're coming in with a real business plan. They're developing a strategy. I can think right now of a buyer client that that the owners went into their practice knowing specifically that they were going to cater to franchisors, like literally went to law school with a plan and strategy in mind, how they can become a national player with representing franchisors. By the way, Spadea Liana, great law firm based in Philadelphia. Startup law firms are then thinking to themselves, how are we going to originate clients? Okay, build a team around the clients and the practice areas that they are developing. How are they going to grow their sales is on the mind of startup law firms as compared to yesteryear's firms, which is okay, January 1st is here again. How are we going to make it rain more here? Okay, we're already thinking in terms of startup law firms, that is, how are we growing sales, increasing profits, and then with an eye towards how are we going to achieve an exit, a sale of the company. What is the company, of course, being a law firm? How are startup law firms distinct when it comes to that all important method and way for them to generate clients? Because regardless of any strategy that you have a startup law firm and you're thinking to yourself, how do we attract clients? Well, pre 2020, it would have been really hard, okay, to develop a startup law firm because of the need to get the word out that you offer this particular practice area to particular types of clients. Well, in today's era, the 3.0 digital era, which is marked by multi-channel digital marketing, startup law firms are leveraging digital marketing to attract the attention of clients because today's and tomorrow's clients look online anyhow when they're looking for lawyers and law firms to hire. And so startup law firms are leveraging what we call the windmills of client generation for their firms. And those windmills consist of Google. Clients go to Google. They're looking for lawyers and law firms to hire. They're similarly going to AI, putting into AI searches, Google searches, best fill in the blank attorney for my particular need. Well, startup law firm owners, they know about those key terms that clients are looking for. They are spending thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on multi-channel digital marketing. The next one, of course, is social media, maintaining an attractive website and putting out all types of audio and video, and of course the written content for would-be clients to hire their startup law firm. And startup law firms, so this is important for senior attorneys to recognize, startup law firms are recognizing the value of mergers and acquisitions, of growth by acquisition. If you have a startup law firm and you are doing great marketing to bring in the clients, well, you need talented lawyers and support staff to meet the needs of those clients. So M&A is also part of how startup law firms are maintaining their growth. And just to share a very quick story of an example of a startup law firm, still blows me away, by the way, is I met recently a family law firm based, call it in the Midwest. Okay. And they're going to do roughly $20 million. That's their projected revenues on a family law firm that is 100% attracting its business digitally. Which, by the way, when I thought about that some more, like, it makes sense to me that your typical person that wants and needs to consult with a divorce attorney, it's an uncomfortable ask of a friend, a brother, someone else, a sister, other kind of family member of, hey, who would you recommend for a divorce attorney? On the other hand, when you're on your smartphone or your laptop or your tablet and you can be searching for, hey, who's the best divorce attorney near me, seeing hundreds of five-star Google reviews, being able to communicate online with that potential law firm, it makes total sense that that firm is seeing meteoric growth and that meteoric growth is all being driven digitally today. So you're developing the clients online by taking advantage of today's 3.0 digital era for the legal industry. Let's look at the second benefit associated with attracting clients digitally, okay, is that you're also developing law firm brand equity, right? That is that more and more clients are attracted to startup law firms because startup law firms recognize that the four components of brand equity for their startup firm consist of brand awareness, right? They are everywhere digitally. And to those that can afford it, and we see this in personal injury law in particular, is it can be on billboards, they can be on radio, and they can be on TV as well. Brand awareness. Secondly is developing a trade name, right? Lawyers and law firms are recognizing today, and certainly startup law firms are recognizing today. They don't need to have five surnames of the founding partners as the name of their firm. Develop a trade name. Have that trade name be out in the marketplace. People will recognize it. That adds to the startup law firm's brand equity, quality perception. Startup law firms recognize and ask often for five-star Google reviews. That is today's social proof. Like in yesteryear, you go to a lawyer's office, it'd be very nice to see on the coffee table at the office, letters from clients, awards and whatnot, and say, wow, I'm very comfortable. I came to the right place. Well, I came to the right place today could be very well at 11:35 at night when a client is looking for, going back to our example on a divorce attorney, and searching online and sees 300 five-star Google reviews that this law firm and its multiple number of divorce attorneys, they represent clients like me. That quality perception. Startup law firms recognize that, and then the digital presence of being everywhere and anywhere, multi-channel, a social media plan, so that when clients are looking online, they're seeing those lawyers from startup law firms as they're searching over multiple social media, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and more. So at the end of the day, when it comes to the question of, okay, how will startup law firms be sold? Startup law firms have the advantage of being able to leapfrog over law firm sales 1.0 and go directly to law firm sales 2.0, 2.5, and even 3.0. So in law firm sales 2.0, there's a fixed price associated with the sale of startup law firms, because startup law firms from the get-go are focusing on their digital value and brand equity, which is supportable by data analytics that show how the clients come into the firm, and it adds reliability and predictability for banks and even private equity to invest, lend towards the purchaser of a startup law firm. Those startup law firms that continue to have one or more rainmaker attorneys, there will be an earnout component to those firms, because clients are still going to law firms because of certain attorneys. And those sales of law firm sales 2.0 in particular will have a fixed price based upon digital value and brand equity, plus an earnout based upon the performance of the book of business. We also foresee, not necessarily in 2026 just yet, though there could be some, but certainly for the remainder of this decade, when there will be less and less reliance on traditional rainmakers and more reliance on digital rainmaking by startup law firms, we will see a trend for law firm sales 2.5 and 3.0, where 3.0 will involve a fixed price altogether at a closing. That is, there will be a fixed price attributable. Maybe it's not fully paid. There could very well be a promissory note associated with it, but it will no longer have earnout terms associated with it because of the startup law firm exiting as a result of having purely digital and brand equity value, where we're not relying upon traditional rainmaker attorneys anymore, and a buyer is buying that goodwill of the firm associated with its brand value. And as a result, there will be significantly higher sale prices, of course, in 2.0 when there's a fixed price plus an earnout, and definitely in 2.5 and 3.0 when the earnout component is phasing out and the fixed price is increasing because of that predictability of how clients come to a startup law firm. Okay, so for today's Poock's Post. Today's Poock's Post is a quote from the movie Hoosiers by Shooter Flatch, who was played by Dennis Hopper, when Shooter says, "Don't get caught watching the paint dry." And this is a real message to senior attorney owners of law firms in particular. Those are attorneys that have practiced for more than 30 years. They developed their practice old school. They developed their book of business pre-Google during what we call the word of mouth era. We need to recognize and accept that digital marketing disruption, it arrived to the legal industry in 2020. It's here to stay, and we have gone from disruption to adjustment to adoption, and now we are in what we call digital normalization in terms of how law firms today, growing law firms in particular, they have fully adopted multi-channel digital marketing to attract clients to their law firms, where that multi-channel digital marketing consists of Google, AI, social media, a website with fresh and new content that consists of written audio and video, lawyers and law firms that are publishing podcasts and videos, all for clients to know, like, and trust lawyers and law firms in advance of contacting them to hire them. And as a result, what we're seeing for senior attorney-led firms that are not adopting multi-channel digital marketing, what we're seeing for the value of their law firms is that they're not attracting and regenerating their books of business as well as they did during the pre-Google, pre-2020 era. And because they're not regenerating their books of business with new clients and new referral sources, the value of senior attorney-led firms is unfortunately going down. So when it comes to this message of please don't get caught watching the paint dry, let's next go to an analogy. We have all lived through the following three analogies that we'll share. That is that Amazon, it surpassed Sears. We all loved going to the mall. We loved going to Sears. We loved getting the Sears catalog every year, but it is a heck of a lot more convenient to order everything and anything today online via Amazon. Next is we've lived through Uber surpassing taxi cabs. It is just so much more convenient today to order an Uber, a Lyft on our smartphones than going outside and hailing a taxi. And the third analogy is Netflix surpassing Blockbuster. It was convenient at one point to go down to a local Blockbuster and take out a VHS to play it on a Saturday night. It is a heck of a lot more convenient to just be sitting on our couch anytime, anywhere, essentially, and watching a movie, a documentary, a show of our choice with just the click of a button. And when it comes to watching the paint dry, of course, we can think back to those taxi cab medallion holders in particular, when they started to see that Uber was coming into their marketplace, and those taxi cab medallions still had great value. That is where we're at today for senior attorney-led firms. Whereas Uber surpassed taxi cab medallions in just a blink of an eye. It's not a blink of an eye yet for senior attorney-led firms, because even if senior attorney-led firms, if you're not generating as many new clients as you did pre-Google, you still have a client list. That client list is highly valuable to growing law firms. Growing law firms today, they need three resources to boost their growth. They need new clients, they need your support staff, they need your key employee lawyers, and they also need your key employee parastaff. And growing law firms want and need more digital content. They need your subject matter knowledge that you've developed over the course of your career to convert that to digital content to attract the attention of today's and tomorrow's clients to hire their law firms. When it comes to please don't get caught watching the paint dry, is that at some point, if your book of business becomes worth less and less, then a growing law firm is going to look at how they are generating clients digitally, and they're just going to pass on purchasing your law firm because it is more economically feasible for them to generate new clients than to purchase your book of business. We've already seen that. We started seeing that in 2025, and we're going to still see that throughout the rest of this decade, significantly and very significantly in terms of not watching the paint dry, is that your key employee lawyers in particular, they want and need a reliable, predictable, and safe job. They, by and large, do not want to purchase their boss's law firm. If they leave your firm unexpectedly, what we call a random Tuesday, That will impact your firm in the short term because, of course, you're not going to be able to bill as many hours and have as much work done at your firm because you've just lost a key biller or a key employee lawyer at the firm. From a growing law firm standpoint, when they're purchasing senior attorney-led firms, they need your clients, of course, but they also need your key employee lawyers. So when a key employee lawyer leaves your firm has actually become less valuable because a growing law firm has to think to themselves, where are we going to get the sophisticated lawyers and non-lawyers to do the work? So if your revenues at your firm are not as strong as they were in the past couple of years, and if you are not generating as many new clients as you did pre-Google, pre-2020, and if you continue to just watch the paint dry, your law firm will become less valuable and at some point will not be sellable. So our strong message as we head into the second half of the 2020s is that senior attorney-led firms should seriously consider selling their law firms if you're not going to adopt multi-channel digital marketing, because you're not going to be attracting as many new clients. And if you're not attracting as many new clients, your firm will not be as sellable as this decade continues on. And that is episode 31 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show.